Gamers, today I'm going to be joined by Chicken from the Guild Honolulu, one of the main theory crafters of Balanced Druid, and him and I are going to discuss the 10.0.5 changes, what they mean, kind of give you some example builds, and overall just kind of give our thoughts on like what's going on with the 10.0.5 stuff as it's happening on reset here. What is this? This is basically us going over the 10.0.5 changes and trying to tell you basically everything we know with what's going to be changing in 10.0.5 with the Balanced Druid tree. For those who don't know, basically the Moonkin tree has been completely redesigned. There's a couple of other things, like Lunar Eclipse no longer affecting the critical strike of Starfire. Lunar Eclipse now increasing damage Starfire deals to nearby enemies by 50%. Basically, this is saying that it's now supposed to be just like an AoE thing. On top of that, there's a couple of other minor talent changes with Astral Communion, increasing our astral power by 20. Kind of cool. I don't know how much this is going to affect anything, but it's a cool talent. Umbral Intensity now further increases the damage your Starfire deals to nearby enemies by 10 and 20%. And then a new talent, which is replacing Circle of Life and Death, which is Cosmic Rapidity, which is your Moonfire, Sunfire, and Stellar Flare deal damage faster, which is unlike Circle of Life and Death in the sense of it no longer like reduces the duration of your dots, and so it forces you to dot less frequently. So overall, you know, I'm really glad that this is getting changed. So
What?
The Circle of Life and Death getting removed.
But Shooting Stars is not proc of Cosmic Rapidity right now. Which
okay, so
hopefully is a bug.
So okay, how Shooting Stars works off of Circle of Life and Death is that it procs faster, yes, and now it
Correct.
And now, without it proccing faster off of Cosmic Rapidity, that's just a big
bit
nerf?
of a nerf.
Okay.
Yeah, how big it is, I don't know exactly, but obviously it's a pretty substantial nerf.
Yeah,
You're cutting 25% of your Shooting Stars and Orbit Breaker procs and whatever else AP generation from them.
I mean, that's been we reported that. Hopefully it gets fixed.
I'm pretty sure it will get fixed, but at what point?
Yeah,
about 10%. Yeah, that's
I read the 10% number, but I don't know like
if that's what target count and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly what situation it's a 10% nerf, but we'll see. I think that overall though, like Circle of Life and Death, the way that you had to redot a bunch, especially if you weren't playing like Ethereal Kindling and stuff like that, was really, really annoying. It reduced the options, and so that being changed to Cosmic Rapidity on paper looks really good. The rest of this stuff, this I think the Lunar Eclipse stuff has good intentions, not exactly perfect execution.
Correct.
The tree being redesigned is good, and we'll talk about this in just a second, as it's going to be probably most of what we're talking about. Astral Communion increasing your AP by 20 and Umbral Intensity being changed, both are fine.
Yeah.
All right, now let's look at the tree.
We can start with the class tree, I guess.
Oh yeah, class tree also got changed.
They added this line over here, and then they added this talent, Forest Walk, which is completely useless.
Yeah.
It's more of a Resto Druid talent, or like a Feral Druid talent, I guess. Because they use Protector of the Pack with instant casts.
Yep.
Of their stuff. They also added another talent to Typhoon, which most of the time you will pick the 5 seconds off on the cooldown, which isn't that impactful. In some situations it will be better. With the addition of Solar Beam in the tree, because they added it into the tree this patch, it was not in the tree before. You will now have a lot of AoE stops. So this might now be a good spec for higher keys. Well, even better than before.
It was already good.
You will be able to pull a lot with Moonkin.
It was certainly a good spec in higher keys already. It was definitely one of the viable spec. Overall, I was fucking around with the class tree. It seemed like we were basically going to be playing the exact same defensive minded build, you know, with a lot of the left side tree stuff, you know. You would get your thick high. You would get your you would get your well-honed instincts. I did skip those two. Except now you have like 3 additional points. Is more of what I found earlier. Then you were able to like get into just like some random different stuff if you wanted to.
Yeah,
again
well, now
though.
you have the option to either go here and take 8% movement speed,
Yeah, okay.
or you can take this. You can take Decals very easy. You can take Wild Growth if your raid wants you to.
Yep, that's
You can
what I
take
was looking
Typhoon
at.
very easy. You can take this as well, and then you can like take a random one. You can take this, I guess.
Overall,
And then you just go
the class tree was
like
never
whatever.
really an issue for Moonkin. It was more of an issue for other specs. Um, and so now it's going to continue to be that way for a lot of stuff where you just have like bonus points now that you can kind of flex around into a couple other things, which is nice. It's going to be it's going to take situations where you would otherwise want dispel, taking it a little bit easier. But
Yeah, before
it's
you were sacrificing defensives for taking some utility.
yeah, now you don't really have to do that, which
Very good, very good.
we already probably got the best deal out of the class tree previously. I think that our class tree is still fine.
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to complain on the class 3.
Yeah, no complaints from me. I guess there's a question of would you ever take Skull Bash? Can we ever take Skull Bash?
You would have to path down around here again,
Yeah,
which makes it a bit weird. I can feel it, I guess.
it's minus. So they reduced the cost to get to Skull Bash by 1 total point,
You
and
would have to do this. And then you could get this, technically. But you lose out on Typhoon
you lose out on Typhoon.
or more defensives. You will never go out of this.
Yeah, okay.
I guess it's just a...
Yeah, I don't.
But it's also a you having to go into Catform thing and into melee, right?
It's two
That is the bigger part.
It's two
I would say.
GCDs. It's kind of fucking annoying.
Yeah.
I think that having to give up personal survivability or Typhoon for it is normally not worth. I think that
I
Typhoon
would say
is
Typhoon is way more worth than this. Especially
yeah.
with the minus 5 seconds. It's basically a,
So in raid,
I don't know.
it doesn't fucking matter. Like let's be
No,
real for a
in raid
second.
it
In
doesn't
raid,
matter
it's
at
never
all.
gonna matter. In M plus, Typhoon is generally seen as universally a little bit stronger than just a single target interrupt, especially now that again you alluded to earlier. Solar Beam is baseline, effectively baseline. It's required take, is what it is.
Yeah, it is required. We can go into that right now.
Okay, let's talk about the class tree. What the class tree is completely changed. What are the major highlights of like what has changed here? Let's just get the absolute major things.
The absolute major things would be Cosmic Rapidity being in the tree,
Okay.
and all of these being down here as 2 talent points.
Okay.
So Power of Goldrin is now down here. Umbral Embrace is now down here. Cosmic Rapidity is in the same spot, but it is now a 2 talent point.
And
then
the
below
talent...
Goldrin,
yeah,
there is Starweaver and Rattle.
Mm-hmm.
This is now a tier 3 talent, same as Orbit Breaker on the other side. And then Mushrooms are both tier 3 talents instead of only Fungal Growth.
Is that...
And then I guess...
Is that Sundered Firmament under Umbral?
Yeah, it is Sunder Firmament.
I was just making
so
sure.
So you will now have to put 2 points in Umbral Embrace.
To get to Firmament. Ah, word.
Yeah, to get to Firmament. That is so cool.
I mean, those are... How I kind of look at those are the capstones of our tree anyways. Orbit Breaker, Sundered Firmament, and the Starweaver Rattle.
Weaver.
Yeah.
These ones you will...
Yeah.
Most of the times never touch down here.
Yeah.
This is forbidden territory.
Yeah, that is forbidden territory. But yeah, so this
part also kind of forbidden.
Oh, interesting. That's unfortunate. Okay, so some of the big stuff at the top is Solar Beam is now a mandatory pick. If you look at the 8 points that are required, it is impossible to get to 8 points without pathing through Solar Beam. Thank God. I didn't like the situation where you would just like not, and you see it from like streamers sometimes too, and you're just like, dude, he's not playing Solar Beam. This is so stupid. Like, I understand why he's not playing Solar Beam because his group is allowing him to not, but holy shit, this is annoying to not have. Like, as somebody who's playing in those keys too, it's like I really would rather have Beam in a lot of these situations. I'm glad that they changed it. It's better for the spec.
It is way better, but
yeah,
you are paying some other stuff for getting it, which is a bit sad. You could have. Well, I don't know if they could have. They are obviously doing this for a reason.
Yeah.
But Yeah, they could have just put it baseline.
They could have put it
Yeah,
baseline, but I
they
think that
probably have a reason for it.
I
Right?
think that they have a reason for not having a baseline. I think that I think that this is probably fine. This is the best. This is the best that we're gonna get, and I think that like we gave a lot of feedback on the beta about like solar beam placement, solar beam not being baseline. Us not really willing to take it, and oh wow, that's crazy. We ended up not taking
Yeah.
it because it was like a 6 or 7% damage loss in a lot of situations. That's
Well,
fucking wild.
yeah, these monkey players, man.
Yeah, so we stopped taking it because it was fucking terrible, and now and honestly they compromised and reworked our tree a lot faster than I thought we were gonna get. So I'm fucking down. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about
So,
what actually is going to end up changing based off of some of this stuff that we are seeing placement wise with the tree.
so we could do a bit of a single target route, I guess,
Okay,
and we will go from there, right?
all right, yeah, let's look at the single target stuff. And because
So,
I think that a lot of the changes come on like the AoE side, right?
yeah, so let's just get this out of the way. We will obviously go down Shooting Star, Solstice, Stellar Flare.
Always.
Now you have to take Solar Beam as well. And now you have a choice, right? Are you on Teros or are you anywhere else in the game?
Okay.
Right? So will you or will you not pick Starfall? Let's say we are on Teros and we don't have to pick Starfall. We have
Okay.
to go into Nature's Balance. Force of Nature, Warrior Balloon is just a math question. You always pick Force of Nature on single target.
On pure single target, yeah.
It's more damage, and then you have to pick Twin Moons.
And this is purely on Teros. In addition to that, like whenever you're taking something like this also locks you out of being able to play Starweaver. Not by not taking Starfall, you were locked out of playing Starweaver. So
Correct.
it may be a situation where you end up taking Starfall anyways, just so you can play Weaver on single target. But as it currently stands, not necessarily the case.
Yeah. So obviously Celestial Alignment,
Yeah.
Pulsar,
Of course.
at least 1 point in Umbral Embrace. Then you will pick this, 2 in this, 2 in this. Obviously you want Waning Twilight.
Waning is good on pure single target, of course.
Easy pick. And now you have a choice, right? Will you want to get to Firmament?
Okay.
If yes, then you have to go to Umbral Embrace. If not, where else would you want to pick your point, right? This is kind of whack on single target. This is kind of whack on single target. And then you're still here, right? So you have to pick all of these talent points.
Technically, at this point, you could put a point into Starfall, and if you wanted Weaver, right? And this isn't too bad at this point to put a point in Starfall, but
well, if you were to also put a point into Starfall, you would take out a point in Force of Nature, right? In favor of Umbral Embrace, because this is just more damage on paper.
Okay. I understand. Yes, this makes sense.
At that point, you would do this instead.
Yeah, okay. This makes more sense. All right. So we're at this spot looking at we're sitting in front of Teros and we're at this spot. Where are we going from here? Is it just rattle plus orbit breaker?
I guess it's the obvious choice is this. You always want Starlord.
That thing is broken, yeah. Starlord, very good.
Always want 1 point at least in Balance of All Things. You always want Orbit Breaker.
Yep.
And then you want to pick between Incan and Convoke. In this
still,
situation, Convoke is still better, yeah.
Still just patchwork ability, of course.
Patchwork ability. Elun's Guidance is a question. I think it depends on how much haste you have compared to other stuff. So that your Pulsar lines up.
Oh.
Yeah, because your Pulsar will have to line up on 2 minutes.
Okay, so
for the 1 minute to be better and stuff like that on paper, but most of the time you're gonna play 2 minutes.
Okay. I was about to say, so for Jimmy John, who's standing in front of Teros, who doesn't know nor care about how much haste he has, what are you taking? Are you taking the 1 minute or are you taking the 2?
I think you take the 2 minutes.
Okay,
you take
perfect.
the medicines, then you take Firmament, and then you will take New Moon, and then you will most likely take a second point in both.
All right, lit.
Because this is just more damage in front of the Fae.
That's more. The second point in boat is more damage than Friend of the Fae. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's different than
what we seemed.
Yeah, that's different than what we saw in 10.0, where Friend of the Fae actually ended up seeing Friend of the Fae and Denizens ended up seeing a decent amount of play in the raid specifically.
Well, specifically Denizen was seeing a lot of play. Friend of the Fae wasn't seeing that much play. On the beta side, wherever before they changed Denizen prop chance, that's where Friend of the Fae was really broken.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the bosses in Vault of the Incarnates just were not required, but preferred like a decent amount of single target and like a splash of AoE. And so it ended up being like, oh yeah, we're playing Denizens, I guess. And so it's like, I have extra points. Where am I putting this? I guess the tier.
Denizens was also comparing itself to 1 point Cauldron.
That's true.
If you were to look back at the live part, it was competing with this.
That's absolutely true. It was competing against 1 point Goldrin. It was also competing like the second. It was competing versus like the second point in Boat. It was competing versus like EG 1 point in Nature's
stuff.
Balance. Yeah, like EG.
Yeah, right. Nature's Balance and stuff.
The second point in Umbral. All right, so this is like the pure single target build.
Yeah.
So you know, not very often we're gonna play something like this.
No, you will most likely. Okay, here comes the hard part, right? The hard part to figure out right now for theory crafters as well is how much are you allowed to splash into AoE, right? If we were to
this
take
position,
this off from this position, you would probably switch into Incarnation.
Yeah.
You would probably switch into Fury of Elune.
Absolutely. You're swapping. You're taking a point out of trees immediately, I think.
Yeah, you're taking a point out of trees, and I bricked it. Can I go back?
Fucking Blizzard.
I went back. Okay, Blizzard. You will do this. And then this goes back here. And now what do you do, right? You will
say we're sitting in front of Kurog Grim Totem or something, right?
Oh, if we were to sit in front of Kurog, that would be a different story, right?
Yeah.
Because Kurog is 2 targets.
Kurog is 2 targets mostly, right? Or Razageth. Razageth Mythic, I guess, since you and I
Razageth Mythic
both recently progged the hell out of that boss. So for Razageth is like, what you want is like a lot of single target damage, but you want the ability to be able to do AoE during the intermissions.
Yeah. In that case, Wild Mushrooms were very good.
Yes.
Like, unbelievably good.
They were my top damage in the P2 intermission.
So you would want to get that somehow. Now, what do you sacrifice for it? I would assume you would sacrifice this.
1 point Boat seems good.
Then what is the question?
How good is Nature's Balance these days?
You cannot spec out of Nature's Balance.
We are at 8 points at the top, aren't we?
Yeah, you would have to spec into Kindling, which is now the question: do you want to spec out of Nature's Balance to get Kindling or not? And I would assume yes.
That's normally pretty reasonable. Yeah, sure.
This is like a maybe.
Oh, we could take we could have taken 1 point out of Waning Twilight there, I think.
Well, it's gonna drop your single target by a lot.
Right? Oh, really? Waning Twilight now is actually a lot on single target.
Well, it's 4% flat.
I guess. Right? Yeah. Now that you say that, it is a lot. I guess it's probably Firmament then. Just looking at where this is.
Yeah, it's probably just Firmament. You're correct. So play something like this.
Yeah, the Firmament's the one that makes the most sense here. Okay, and so this is like a I don't want to say like the set in stone, but it's like a good mixed damage build.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd agree with this.
I think that this is. I mean, this looks pretty decent. I don't think that. Not from looking at this, it looks like not a lot has changed from 10.0 to 10.0.5 now with like what we're playing. So we saw Taros. We saw like a Taros build. We saw like a more general raid build. I played that Razageth build in like a lot of the bosses. Something akin to that build on a fair amount of bosses.
The question here would be Denizens compared to Balance of All Things or Firmament, which is just a numbers thing. But you also do not scale into AoE with Denizens, right?
Yep.
Which is kind of the question, right? You could pick this or this.
Yeah.
I think Firmament is more damage than Balance of All Things 2 points, but I'm not completely sure. Obviously more AoE than Denizens, so at that point you just choose between more single target or more AoE.
Yeah, I mean at this point we're picking based off of feel of the fight and like because the numbers aren't going to give you like clear indications of what is better for specific boss encounters, because the boss encounters promote different things, and like single target is generally the highest priority on Razageth, but you can't like sack all of your AoE to get to single target.
It's also a question of how far into the fight are you, right? If you're hard stuck on first intermission, then you would probably go more AoE. If you're hard stuck P3, then you go more single target, obviously.
So talk to me about capstones. You said that's forbidden territory. Are they just all 3 dead is dead.
This has always been dead.
That thing is, yeah, that's not even a talent point.
I do not think a single person has talked about this. EG has most of the time been a maybe single target talent with Convoke.
With Convoke.
Correct. With Incarn, it has competed with better AoE talents.
Yes.
Right now, you just want way more AoE.
Right now, you're playing it in an M+ build with Pulsar. But you're barely playing it, and you could if somebody took it off and was playing something slightly different, talent-wise with Pulsar, I wouldn't have been surprised. Are you taking it? Are you taking it on AoE anymore?
I do not think you're taking this on AoE anymore.
And so then Denizens of the Dream, or Friend of the Fae, whatever.
Friend of the Fae.
Yeah.
I think this is mostly that as well, just because you're comparing it to way more tier 3 talents, right? You're just comparing it with way stronger tier 3 talents. So you got Orbit Breaker, you got Rattle now, you got Communion now, you got fucking Star-Lord, you got Boat now.
Yeah, okay. Bottom of our tree is way more interesting than it was previously, I will say.
It is more stacked power.
Yeah. It's more stacked. Like, it's weird that it's still strange. Like, if you're coming from a different class, it's like kind of strange that we're not picking capstones. But at the same point, it's fine. Like, whatever. The bottom of the tree is the bottom of the tree.
Nobody cares.
All right, let's talk about the shit that got the change the most, and the stuff that's still not very clear what we're going to be doing. Whenever it comes around, what the fuck are we doing with M+, bro?
I will just pull out some patchworks, and then we can go into M+.
Yeah, okay.
I will pull out 3 or 4 random patchworks. I will just start with 1, right?
Okay, with patchwork Sims stuff. Okay.
This is on paper, let's say 8 targets. It is the same as 4 targets. But anything AoE, you want to play this cooked Starfire build. Now, what does this build do?
This is patchwork how many targets?
8 targets, but it's almost the same as 4 targets.
Okay, patchwork 8. All right.
Pyrovilon. So, on patchwork 8, no movement at all.
Sure.
This is what you're gonna rock. Right, so I will just run you through this in the talent calculator. You will start off like this. You will obviously go on these ones. You will have to take Starfall and Kindling.
Which is fine.
And you will have to take Twin Moons, right? Now you have to take all of this stuff. Okay. 2 points in this again, and then you will take 2 in Waning, 2 in Cosmic Rapidity, and then this and this.
Okay, so now, nothing has changed basically from points right now in 10.0.5 to, or from 10.0.5 to 10.0. All of these points are points that we were previously playing.
Correct. You were also playing Lunar Shrapnel, but you were forced to play it.
Yes.
Now we will not play it anymore because it sucks. that talent's fucking beans.
As a surprise to absolutely no one, it was not good.
And now you need to put 2 points into something, right? Now, Starfire got changed. Starfire good now. Umbral Intensity also good now.
Really? We're not sacking the 2 points into the dog?
No. Dog bad. Dog no AoE. This is 0 AoE.
Well, this is right? patchwork. This is patchwork 8 targets, right? This is not like, I guess this is not looking at like hybrid builds with potential for M+ or whatever.
Correct. This is just 8 targets.
Okay, this is just 8 targets.
AoE slam, me do AoE.
Okay.
And now this also scales of Starfire, right? You will want to press a lot of Starfires now.
Yeah.
Now you will go, let's say, 1 point in both of them. Now you will obviously go Orbit Breaker. You will go at least 1 in both, at least 2 in Star-Lord, and then you play Incarnation. This is always going to be what you play in every build. 5 points are completely locked.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that on 8 targets you haven't mentioned mushrooms yet.
I have not.
Because I'm aware.
What mushrooms do in the current build is, let's say you go into an M+ spec, right?
Yeah.
You have 5 targets in front of you. You know you will have to dot, and dot a lot, right? You will have everything dotted. You will go into an Eclipse, and then what will you do? Press Starfall a bit, and then press mushrooms. What do those mushrooms do?
They give me AP
those
for more Starfalls.
Give you AP for Starfalls and give you Waning Twilight.
Yes.
right? Because they apply fungal growth and then they do waning twilight.
Yes.
So basically, this is a generator and an amplifier on your starfalls and your dots.
Correct.
Now we can achieve this by going into Smolder and then pressing one Starfire,
Yeah. We
which
can.
is a bit gamba, but on paper this is way more damage.
So this is contingent on hard casting a lot more Starfires to achieve waning uptime.
Correct. You achieve waning uptime and then way more damage.
Okay.
Because if I can get a sim right now that has some AoE in it, or like there is a, what do you call it? Like that's a quick sim.
Okay.
You will see that Starfire does a lot of damage.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, just show us the HTML report from that.
They're all too big. I think we will go into this, and it should have it? Question mark. No, it doesn't because it's single target. What do we have here?
None of these are.
Not that
All
many.
of these are gonna be too big.
None
Yeah,
of these.
all of
Okay.
these are. All of these are gonna be like 60 fucking thing.
I will teach someone how to do a sim.
Yeah.
You press here, and then you go to quick sim, obviously. And you press this, and it should work. You will go 4 targets for the sake of it, and then you press quick sim.
Yeah, because we don't necessarily need to see 8 targets.
And that's how you sim.
Okay, so where are we putting the last 5 points while the quick sim is running real quick? Then.
So while the quick sim is running, what the robot tells us is that you will put your last points into the 1 pointers that you have already put in, which is Umbral Intensity, Smolder, and Boat.
Okay.
Now, you're sitting here and thinking, okay, we have 2 points, now what?
It's Firmament Fury, isn't it?
It's Fervent, and then...
There's no way it's EG.
No.
Where the fuck we going?
It's even worse. It's Warrior Balloon.
It's Warrior Balloon. Oh.
On 8 targets, it is Warrior Balloon.
Interesting. Okay, that is not where I thought that was going. Okay.
So it is either Warrior Balloon on 8 targets, or on less targets, it is Fury Balloon. Just raw damage wise.
Okay,
No
so
movement involved, no nothing.
Realistically, in a sim perspective, Warrior Balloon is getting taken here. In a practical perspective, on most situations, you're still playing Fury for AoE. Okay, I follow.
Yeah, correct. So if you look at my screen right now, you will see the Starfire damage, right? And this is only 4 targets, right? On 8 targets, will go even higher.
Yeah.
So if you're comparing this to mushrooms, this is a bit of a difference.
Okay.
Now comes the question.
What's the global setup time for something like this? Like to get to this point where our damage breakdown is going to look like this, how long into the fight are we going to need to have set up for?
That is a good question. Right now, we do not know the answer of that, I think. At least I am not up to date with that. Maybe I'm getting a DM from someone who knows. Also, I got noted that these are wrong talents, but it is still kind of the same thing.
Hard casting
It is not even with Umbral Intensity and Smolder. Okay.
Okay, well, we just debated shit. Okay, so it's not with Umbral Intensity. It's not with Umbral Intensity and Smolder.
Import this.
What is it then?
Here is how you do sims, guys. You copy this and then put this in and then try again. That's how you do sims, you brute force shit. Let's put it on 8 targets because we were talking about 8 targets.
Yeah.
This is how you do theory crafting, guys. Look.
We look
this
at
how it is.
We sim
do wrong shit
1,000 times.
You do good shit.
Yep. We sim it and we're like, oh, that number's lower. All right, well, maybe it's not this number.
45%. Would you look at that?
Okay, so how this happened, by the way, if you look at your damage breakdown on live currently, your damage breakdown, not this. It's not actually not even close. Starfire doesn't even beat like anything. Not Starfall. It doesn't beat shit for my top damage breakdown. What happened is Lunar Eclipse now increases the damage that Starfire deals to nearby enemies by 50%. This is actually a very big deal for the amount of damage that Starfire is going to be doing. And so this is actually a pretty big deal. In addition to that, by the way, we didn't mention this earlier because I was kind of waiting until this point, but we're still sitting in Lunar Eclipse and Wrathing on single target.
Yeah, we have a bunch of builds comparing it here. Let's pull out just normal single target build, right?
Yeah, sure.
You just enter Lunar, fill with Wrath. And then you have with
Intersolar
the
Intersolars is slightly worse, but it is what it is.
slightly worse. If you play this cooked build in M+, it will look like this, where you do want to enter solar for 0.4%. That is because of you playing Smolder and Umbral Intensity, so you want to buff your rats. But if this is actually a viable build, we do not know yet.
Okay, and so what was the build that was DM'd to
This
us?
just gets
What was
put on hold.
So what was that was slightly better at 8 targets now that you got told it was not true? What did it?
No, well, this was the no. I was simming wrong earlier.
Oh,
And
okay, we're
did
good.
this one. This was the wrong one.
Ah, okay, I see what you're saying.
But yeah, this was the best build on 8 targets as of now.
Can you click the HTML report? I want to say something real quick. What is the DPT? Is the DPT of Starfire higher than Starfall? Is there a chance that we only Starfire?
No.
It's higher than Starfall.
Yes. Huh. Well, you do build Pulsar with Starfall, so yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So, we're still Starfalling.
If Pulsar did not exist,
we're still Starfalling for now.
Orbital Strike.
So we're still Starfalling for now. There is Star-Lord, which could help us, have to cycle eclipses, or not cycle eclipses, but press Starfall.
Yeah.
Our AoE is a lot weirder now, especially in these pure AoE situations. Obviously, these are like the most extreme. These are the most extreme that are going to get amplified by the changes the most. Let's talk about like the reality of the situation. Is this something that people are likely to play around in practical situations or practical applications, such as Council is like a sustained 4 target fight? That's something that's a practical application, and then basically the largest one is probably M+. What are people likely to do for Council? I guess we can start with there.
For Council, it will just be something like this, right? You will just play the 4 target build, which is taking out Warrior Balloon for Fury Balloon, and you will just stick with this. Right? On Council, there is not that much movement. You do not have to care about almost anything. Nothing does damage.
Okay.
You just blast 4 target to, by the way, 20% around that more damage than before. 15-20% more damage. That is so cool.
So we got buffed. Did you say we got buffed?
Yeah. Council, no. Best class by like 50%. Very cool, Blizzard. Thank you. And now, what will you actually play in M+, right? That is a very big question.
Yeah, I've seen a few sims, and I couldn't tell what was what.
So you now have, going back to the 4 targets, right?
Because the best 4 target, yeah, just laying it out for a second, the best 4 target build is not the best M+ build, because you want like a balance of like single target and AoE, because the best specs in the game for M+ do good AoE while also doing good single target. If you think about things like Havoc Demon Hunter, they don't really give up much single target to do AoE. Moonkin in 10.0, you're not really giving up much single target to do AoE. Now, you just don't do much single target. That's just like the reality of it, but you're not giving up a lot.
Now, you might play something like this, where you forego some random stuff that helps you in AoE, which is like 2 boat, Ferment, 1 in Umbral Embrace. Yeah. And then you take Goldrin, and then you take Rattle for more single targets.
Okay, so this is like this is pretty balanced.
Yeah, this is a pretty balanced build. Now, you could also go something like Forced Mushrooms for lower keys, because obviously the Starfire one has a bigger ramp time. So you could forgo some random stuff, like, again, Ferment and Boat, and you can pick up Mushrooms and Fungal for more Waning Twilight and stuff. And more movement as well. It's very good to point out, this is way more movement.
This forewent Goldrin and Rattle, right?
Yeah, well, I was comparing it to this one.
Yeah,
which was the base 4 target one.
Okay. That seems pretty reasonable. So
now, if you want to also play Mushrooms and Force Goldrin like we did before, this is basically the 10.0 build.
Yeah.
You go minus Smolder, minus UE, UI, I mean, and then you take this, and you get -1 in both, and then you just stick with this.
And how much damage is this like different than what we saw in 10.0? Or is this a damage gain? Is this damage loss? Like where are we sitting with this compared to 10.0?
That is a good question, and we have the 4 target build right here on live. You are at this number,
Yeah, sure.
and now you will go to this number, which
Okay,
is
so
above.
we got effectively buffed in most multi-target situations, which is, I mean, it's good. I'm not gonna fucking complain. No rats.
And then you probably also got buffed single target, right? Because this is playing no Goldrin, no Denizens.
Okay, so it's gonna help our M plus.
Yeah, this is gonna help our M plus. This is probably gonna be a bit of a meta spec if Starfire doesn't get gutted, which I expect it will. Somewhat get a bit of a nerf at least.
I am expecting a nerf. Yeah. Looking at the numbers on this, I'm already expecting a little bit of a nerf.
No, it will. Did we talk about single target?
We talked about patchwork single target, and we talked about Razageth builds, right? Which is like that's like your effective raid single target stuff. Like you play something similar to the Razageth build on like Aranog. You play it on like Stenarth.
No, I mean let's just say full Teros, right? This is gonna be the full Teros in the future. This is gonna be the number, and this was before, right?
Okay, so it's
around 500 nerf on single target because of the Starfire changes.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm not hitting 80k normally on single target anyways. I'm not hitting
with full gear and all the cheese talents. Like this was the most cheese single target build, right? You played Force of Nature, Nature's Balance, 2-minute Convoke, right?
Yeah,
New Moon. People didn't play that.
I mean, so losing 500 DPS on single target is not the same as gaining 15,000 on AoE.
Yeah. I would rather take the 15,000 AoE if you ask me.
Now
you are shit on single target anyways, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think... So what are the other big takeaways? Any other big takeaways? So basically the biggest thing that I've noticed is the damage that we're gaining via Starfire is a lot more impactful.
Correct.
Do we have any like big speculative M plus trees, or do you think that everything is just going to be super flexible? You're likely to not play the 10.0 M plus build. You're likely to kind of shake it up and play something that's a little bit more Starfire focused. That's kind of what I was gathering?
I think it's just gonna be heavily key dependent, right? Because on the high count keys, wherever you were already good at, I think you will try to play the Starfire build. How viable that is in terms of movement only, that is a question of both how good the player is, and how actually viable the pool will be. Right. So if you pull like, let's say, give me a random pool that requires you to move a lot, like.
I mean, the first pull of Algathar Academy is
Academy,
right?
Yeah.
That is like high movement, high target count.
That will be a question of can you play well, I guess, around your warrior balloon and your dots and stuff. You will have to track every cast internally or externally in your head or wherever the fuck you want, but those seed casts, you have to dodge out of them, and they are very fast, right? So you will not be able to cancel your Starfire and then call it a day and then say I'm top damage. Right now you will have to actually go through with your Starfire, get out of the mechanic, not die, and then you will do a lot of damage. So yeah.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense.
In like the more single target dungeons, obviously you will play a more Goldrin focused build. So, maybe we'll play Weaver at some points in some of these dungeons. Like you will play something like something like this.
I've seen some sims with Weaver being on the table for M plus specifically because it's good prio damage.
This could be on the table, correct, for prio damage, right? You are in a Court of Stars, right? That is mostly a single target dungeon, other than the first kind of gauntlet thing, and then the imps will get obviously blown up by any other class. This is most likely what you will play on a Court of Stars. Maybe. I'm not sure. You will have to test that, obviously. I cannot predict everything, but maybe you'll play Weaver.
Yeah, sure.
Very good for moving, very good for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty well rounded. So I mean, if you look at like most of the dungeons, basically everything except for Halls of Valor, Knockout Offensive, and Algathar Academy are fairly low AoE. I would say that Knockout Offensive and Halls of Valor even aren't insanely high AoE in the same way that Algathar Academy is. And so I think that playing a more balanced build in pretty much every other dungeon that's not AA is going to yield you pretty solid results. Even if you look at stuff like Court of Stars, if you look at stuff like Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, Temple of the Jade Serpent, a lot of that just promotes doing good single target damage generally, and low target count priority damage.
Yeah, you might see some mix of Starweaver, Goldrin, and then maybe you take some Smolder, Umbral Intensity stuff. Maybe.
Okay.
Also, if you're playing that build, you will have to keep in mind that Stellar Flare got a bit of a change in our priority list, where it is now only pressed on 11 targets and below, instead
Okay.
of up to infinity. And then it will go down with each point in Smolder, Umbral Intensity, and I think Umbral Embrace. And then that will make it a 7 or below target count spell pressed on.
So
Which was
you're still pressing it in
mostly what
plus.
you were pressing it. Yeah, you will still mostly press it on the big guys, right? How you were pressing it before.
You sure?
And you will now not press it on like very big pulls instead of Starfire. Basically what we're getting out of this.
All right. Okay, so we got a couple questions from the people. Did we discuss Orbital Strike yet? No, and there's a reason we didn't discuss Orbital Strike, because again, it seems like it's outclassed by Pulsar in most ways, right?
Yeah. That is correct. It is still the same spell, right? It is nothing changed with Orbital Strike and Pulsar. They're still the same.
No difference. I mean, like we saw earlier, maybe there's a situation where like super high target counts, Starfire starts beating Starfall. Like I maybe there's some like really cooked situation where Orbital starts to outscale it. In general, though, does Orbital is probably still just like a low M plus thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like a low
Plus
level.
five with your friends on a Sunday kind of deal.
Yeah. Not something that's like, if your mobs have any health to them, you're not playing Orbital.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that overall what are the key takeaways here? We're flaring less and starfiring more, but we're still flaring pretty much as we were previously.
Maybe a bit less. But yeah, maybe the duration on it also changed something. We will have to see more. Details will be in Compendium at some point.
Yeah, okay. Details will be in the Compendium at some point. I gotta update the WoW guide too.
Oof.
It shouldn't be too bad. I don't think that... So, playstyle wise, not a ton is changing, right? These are still these... Outside of Cosmic Rapidity, these are all the same nodes. Cosmic Rapidity didn't really change our rotation in any meaningful way. I think that 10.0.5 is going to play largely similar to 10.0. Your damage breakdown is just going to change a little bit.
Correct.
The no mushroom thing in M plus is a bit weird. Is your do you have an expectation of us playing mushrooms or not? Because it seemed like there were some situations where you could and maybe would play mushrooms still in M plus.
I think mushrooms will be a bit more dependent on lower duration pulls, right? You can imagine it as a orbital strike versus pulsar, but on a much higher scale, right? So you would say that orbital strike is better up to +10 dungeons. Now mushrooms will be better up to plus 20 or something. A random number just thrown out there, but I'm assuming that is what will happen. So it will just get replaced by Starfire and Smolder, I'm assuming. The higher you go, the more stuff will live. If you can play around the movement better, the more you will go into the Starfire build. The lower you go, the more you will go into the 10.0-ish build.
Okay, this makes sense. Overall, though, it still looks like it's still a buff. Even if we look at 10.0 build to 10.0.5 build and like have virtually the same points, you're still getting a damage increase. Assuming that shooting stars isn't going to be bugged.
Correct. Yeah, assuming the shooting stars thing gets fixed, please fix it. If any bros from Blizzard are watching,
it's been reported, right? Like we reported it
a bunch of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question: do we go over 2 target builds? No, we don't really see too many 2 target builds. The only situation that we actually have 2 targets is like Kurog. Whenever we have
I will
the
just
ads
go through
up.
it now.
Yeah, let's go through it real quick.
Pop it open. This is it. Not much to talk about. You take Smolder, and that's it.
God, we really fucking hate mushrooms, don't we?
The rest is the same. You weren't taking it. It wasn't that good on Kurog either. Yeah. You take out Smolder for. You take Smolder and second in Embrace out of mushrooms, and that's it. This is the same as the last one.
So mushrooms are now. Basically. So instead of universally taking mushrooms for every single situation, now mushrooms are like a really niche talent.
Burst AoE.
Yeah, burst AoE.
They are what they were supposed to be at the start.
Yeah, okay.
I like that, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Seems pretty niche. Niche pickup. A lot more Starfire damage focused. Okay. I mean, the only I think that we talked pretty much about every single talent, right? In some capacity. Maybe not that rapid innervation thing. I had to dig deep for the name. The thing that's next to Waning Twilight that we don't take.
What's that?
Oh, Stellar Innervation. Rapid Innervation. Stellar Innervation.
Dig deep.
I had to dig deep for the wrong fucking name. I only got half of it, too.
This thing is, like,
awful.
Still in the bin. Like, never take... Oh, I guess some people will ask about Communion.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, this got plus 20 AP, max AP. This is still trash. They moved it from... For some reason, they took this out of tier 2. It was, like, here. It was very well placed, in my opinion. You had a niche for it on single target. It was very cool. Plus movement. You have to press another button for it, but that's fine. It was cool. You could have played on single target. Now it's fucking trash. GG. Go next. I don't know.
It's a PvP button now.
It's a PvP button now, yeah.
It's not like
cool in PvP.
Let's be real. It's not completely useless. This is more like a PvP thing. You're never taking this though.
No. Strictly from a PvE perspective, you will never take this.
I mean, it's a vibe button.
It's a vibe button, yeah. But the vibe people also do not like pressing more buttons, right? So that's an anti-vibe button, kind of.
Oh shit, the vibe people are in shambles. Yeah. Okay, cool. Any closing thoughts?
Good changes overall. Change shooting stars, bug fix that.
Okay.
Other than that, change Stellar Innervation, change position of Communion, change Shrapnel, and then it's GG.
All right, yeah, sounds about how I feel about it too. Class tree overall looked like it got improved a little bit, and we talked about at the beginning, but not much changed. Spec tree, it's looking better. I mean, it fixed the.
It's better than before.
Exactly, it's better than before. People were concerned that they were doomsaying that it was going to get worse. No, this puts us in a position where we have to take Solar Beam, which is a good thing. And overall, it seems like we're getting, I don't want to say more talent flexibility, but it seems like the talents are less clear-cut as they were before, and there's a lot more choice in some situations.